I would like to ask the Chief Minister what action has been taken to prevent the seasonal increase in demand at the food bank and to mitigate the risk of hunger during the summer holidays amongst school children.
Chief Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr. President. The risk of hunger during the school holidays among school children has been looked at as part of the Cold, Hunger and Homeless project led by the Minister for Policy and Reform. The feedback from the food bank on levels of demand during school holiday periods is that demand peaks during September at the end of the holidays, caused by the need to purchase school uniform, equipment and associated costs. Mr. President, financial support may be available towards the purchase of uniforms where there are extenuating circumstances. Any parents or carers struggling to afford uniform are encouraged to contact the Department of Education, Sport and Culture directly. Definitive information available on the island is inconclusive regarding holiday hunger. The action plan prepared to address cold, hunger and homelessness seeks to address this, and Minister Thomas will stand today to make a statement on the progress of the project. It is important to acknowledge that any solution must be relative to the demand, and further information is required to understand this. I must reiterate what I said to the Honourable Member for Garff last year when she asked the same question. No child should be hungry on this island. If there are families where there is concern, they must urgently contact the Social Security Division of the Treasury in the first instance to ensure that they are receiving the benefits to which they are entitled.
Point of order again, Mr. President, if that's okay. The Chief Minister seemed to there quote from a document called the Cold, Hunger and Homeless Strategy, which has not been circulated to Tynwald members yet.
Hear, hear.
Mrs. Caine.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I thank the Chief Minister for that answer, and he does make the point that no child should be hungry on the island. Does he accept that children are hungry, particularly in the school holidays? Has he himself spoken to the food bank? Because the food bank director could give many examples of parents facing hardship through this summer holiday period. And he says there's no definitive, conclusive evidence to say there is. Well, I would say, has he spoken to the director of the food bank? Because I think he would find that the director of the food bank has first-hand knowledge of several families facing hardship and child hunger this summer.
Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do believe that the report did meet with the food bank and asked this very question, and did speak to a director who advised us accordingly. So I think there is confusion maybe there, but as I say, honourable members will be having a statement on this topic later.
Honourable Member for Douglas Central, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the Chief Minister agree with me that the Mr. Speaker's intervention was slightly confusing because there's no reference to an actual action plan in the Chief Minister's statement? There's just a reference to the statement, the forthcoming statement, which about that action plan.
Quoted a
secondly,
figure.
would the
Honourable Member for Onken, Miss Edge.
Sorry, Mr. President, I thought you were trying to intervene. And secondly, would the Chief Minister agree that there's more than one director for the food bank and that the Cold, Hunger and Homelessness project has met with the food bank and all the other charities on a couple of occasions? Data has been provided from those charities, and the data from the food bank shared at a meeting with the Cold, Hunger and Homelessness project clearly shows that there is a peak in demand in September, but not earlier. Obviously, would the Chief Minister agree there is poverty on the island, however it's defined by the Select Committee? Eagerly await the report, but there's no evidence from the food bank that the demand increases in July and August.
Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr. President. Obviously, I don't sit on the committee regarding this, but yes, on the advice I have been given, the evidence stated does not show a spike in the months of July and August, but purely in September for the reasons I have given, Mr. President, regarding school purchase, uniform, etc.
Honourable Member for Onken, Miss Edge.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chief Minister's just reiterated there about school uniform. I'm not quite certain, unless policy's changed in the last couple of years with regards to school uniform and getting support from the Department of Education. I think if the Chief Minister could check this and circulate to members, because it used to be a Treasury function and benefit function.
I'm Happy to set the Honourable Member for Onken correct and point out that, as I mentioned in my answer, financial support may be available towards the purchase of uniforms where there is extenuating circumstances, and this is through educational endowment funds administered by the Department of Education, Sport and Culture, which can provide assistance to support the purchase of school uniforms. During 2018 and 19, in relation to school uniform assistance, there were 23 pupils provided with financial assistance.
Now I had, yes, Mrs Caine.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can I ask the Chief Minister, is he aware when he says that anybody with children facing hunger in the school holidays, that they should contact Social Security Division, that generally the first advice from the Social Security Division is to advise those people to contact the food bank? Also, is he aware that the food bank had generally seen a dip after a Christmas period and a reduction in the number of people going to the food bank, but actually this year it's maintaining at about 200 people and food parcels per month, and they are anticipating that even in August, given the early number of inquiries they've had, that could go up to 250 in August, so 50 additional singles, couples and families receiving food parcels in August. So does he feel that enough has been done when previously there were tie-ups with other charities, Isle of Play, and activities to support children and to provide activity as well as food? There is, as far as I'm aware, nothing happening this year. So what action is he aware of that will be implemented for this summer to support families facing hardship?
Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr. President. I can only reiterate that the Honourable Member for Minister for Policy and Reform, Minister for Douglas Central, and his committee have met with the food bank and met with other organisations to discuss these problems, and no evidence has been provided. I remember the days, Mr. President, when the Salvation Army used to hand out the food banks, and the data was clear. I never saw the feedback that we're getting now, and I reiterate, if a family is having problems, then Social Security are there to help those families, and they should be contacting them if they feel they're not getting their necessary benefits. The Isle of Man government is there to help families who are struggling, but the data that we have received as a result of the Minister for Policy and Reform going out has found that there is no spike in the summer holidays, bar the months of September, when the additional cost of preparing for the new school term. Now, if that report is incorrect, then I look forward to receiving concrete evidence from members to that, and of course we will review ourselves.
Final supplementary, Miss Edge.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to go back to the Education Endowment Fund, which is set up to support children in many areas. Could the Chief Minister confirm where that's held? Is it held in schools or is it held centrally? And when did the policy change that the benefits section or social services did not provide school uniforms for children that were in need?
Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing has changed. The endowment fund is administered by the Department for Education, Sport and Culture, on my information, not by individual schools. So I think I gave the Honourable Member that answer before. I can only go on the information I'm provided. And obviously, the Department, the Social Security will help families too. And and any parent or carers in extenuating circumstances, meaning that they are struggling to afford school uniforms, should contact the Department directly of Education, Sport and Culture.
Honourable Members, just dealing with the point as raised by Mr Speaker, I draw attention to Standing Order 323.7, which reads, unless it is of such a nature that its publication would be inconsistent with the public interest, no document may be referred to until a copy has been distributed to all members, which in practice means to be in the hands of the Clerk of Tynwald by 5 o'clock the day before the debate. This particular standing order is not always followed, particularly in the case of documents that are very clearly already in the public domain, but it exists nonetheless, and I draw members' attention to it.